Hey everybody, so last night I saw Gemini Man, directed by Ang Lee, starring Will Smith, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Clive Owen, and Benedict Wong. I'm fairly surprised at how much I liked this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of flaws with this movie, but if you ask me, it's a really good, bad movie. Now, one thing that really ticked me off about this movie, without getting into what's good or bad, is that the movie tries to act as if everyone in the audience does not know what we are seeing. It tries to play it off as if no one knows that the guy tracking down Will Smith is actually himself in a younger version. It almost plays the audience as if we're idiots. And that would be okay if the reveal was handled well or really fleshed out in the story, but it's not. And that's where the problem with the script and the story comes into play. The story is a little bit flimsy, but the script is pretty bad in that sense. A lot of dialogue feels stunted and plainly fake. Plus, character motivations, arcs, and connections feel completely rushed. Like Will Smith pulls up on Mary Elizabeth Winstead, acts like a complete psycho, and then all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, he saves her life. But now she's just best friends with him and completely trusts him. It's just sometimes the script takes a few liberties with the characters and the story itself. As for the acting, Smith seems kind of checked out in both characters. Winstead and Owen are fine, and Benedict Wong doesn't really get much to do. All the other background actors and characters are terrible. The head of the DIA is awful. The Russian guy that they meet has really bad fake white teeth. That's kind of off-putting. And it's just, as a whole, it's kind of poorly acted. As for things I did like, however, I thought it was shot wonderfully. The colors and overall aesthetic is very nice, and the shots are very interesting. I didn't see this in 3D, even though I wish I had, which is what everybody says you should see it in. But it is clearly shot to be viewed in that format. And one of the problems with Ang Lee movies is that he wants you to see it in the way he wants you to. Otherwise, you lose a certain aspect of the film. You lose something about it. And the action is, well, before I move on, a lot of the shots either feel very flat or extremely 3D in a 2D sense. And that's where I feel like I should have seen this movie in 3D. I feel like I would have gotten a little bit better of an experience seeing it in 3D because the shots are clearly meant to be in that way. Like I said, some of the shots feel extremely flat. But when you're in a natural environment, there was something about the way the colors of the buildings and the surroundings really pop off screen, and I think that's why he wanted you to see this movie in 3D HDR. That being said, I didn't see it. But the action is done very well. The motorbike scene is great, and the fight scenes have some great choreography and camera work to go along with them. Now, for the thing that everyone's wondering or going to ask about this movie. How was the de-aging on Will Smith? Well, sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's utter shit. When they're not together on screen, the younger version looks very convincing. But when they're together on screen, you can tell that something is off. The lighting is not quite right on his face, and the clothing moves in very unrealistic ways, especially in the final scene. If you see this movie, look at the left side of the younger Will Smith denim jacket. There's no way a coat is moving in that way if it's denim. And if you want to talk about rubber people, like in the end of Black Panther, there are some horrible rubber CGI created people in these action scenes. There are some really terrible CGI, especially when recreating the younger Will Smith in that chase sequence. That's where the rubber people really came out to play, and it's really weird to look at. Simply put, you need to lower your level of believability to really enjoy this movie, in my opinion. Will Smith would have died 5 times alone in the motorbike chase sequence. But in the end, this is a bad movie that I really enjoyed. It's flawed, yes, but I had a good deal of fun with it. And for that, I will give Gemini Man a 6.7 out of 10.